Good morning, mighty mathematicians of the Congo Nation. I'm Sister Johnson, and welcome to our Sichet lesson. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2020. Congratulations, Congo Nation. We have completed Module 5 of our math. So today we're going to take our end of module assessment. Just like assessments in the past of our cycle program, we're going to start our period with drop everything and study. But before you take your half hour to study, I would like to do a math review. I have our study guide that we'll read shortly, but after we read our study guide, I am going to solve some problems that will cover the concepts that are on today's assessment. All right, and you'll do those problems with me. It'll be your practice before you begin your assessment. Yabo? All right, let's take a look at our end of module assessment study guide. The assessment will cover the following concepts: the attributes of shapes. So it's going to ask you information about the sides, corners, and faces of shapes, right? Because we have our two-dimensional shapes and our three-dimensional shapes. So you need to know how many sides, corners, and faces those shapes have. The next concept that our assessment will cover is how to create composite shapes. Remember, composite shapes are the larger shapes made up of smaller shapes. Yabo? All right, it's going to cover halves and corners, how to divide shapes into 2 halves or 4 quarters. And it's also going to cover telling time to the hour and telling time to the half hour. Yabo? All right, Congo Nation, let's start our math review. All right, Congo Nation, let's look at number 1. Number 1 says, is the shape a square? If it is, write yes on the line. If it is not, explain why it is not a square on the line. Yabo? All right, so let's look at A. The question is the shape a square? So I see the shape here. Yes, that is a square, so I'm going to write the word yes on the line. Yabo? Then I move on to B. Is that a square? So let's think about what I know about a square, because I have to explain why this is not a square. I know this is not a square, but why? This is not a square because we know that a square has 4 sides of the same length. So since these 2 sides are longer than these 2 sides, I know it can't be a square. So this is not a square because the sides are not the same length. And that's really the only reason I know it's not a square, right? Because I can't say that this shape doesn't have 4 sides like a square does. This shape also has 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. The thing that makes this a trapezoid is that the sides are not the same length. Yabo? All right, moving on to number 2. Number 2 says, circle the attributes that are used to describe all spheres. So I'm going to picture a sphere in my head and think about everything that I know about a sphere. Let's look at these options and see which ones we can circle. The first one says it's a 2-dimensional shape. Is a sphere a 2-dimensional shape, Congo Nation? No, I know that it's not, so I can't circle that. The next one says round. Is a sphere round? Yes, it is. Very good. A sphere is round, so I can go ahead and circle that attribute. The next one says 3-dimensional shape. Is a sphere a 3-dimensional shape? Yes, it is. So I can circle 3-dimensional shape. Good job. Let's look at the next attribute. 6 flat faces. Does a sphere have 6 flat faces? No, very good. That's a different three-dimensional shape. So we're going to move on to the next attribute. The next attribute says can roll. If we think about spheres, do you think they can roll? I think so. Most of the objects that we looked at that were in the shape of a sphere were balls, and we know that balls can roll. The next attribute says no flat faces. Does a sphere have any flat faces, Congo Nation? No, it doesn't. So we can go ahead and circle no flat faces. Let's review. Spheres are round. They're three-dimensional shapes. They can roll, and they have no flat faces. All of those things are true about a sphere. Yay, Bo? Number 3, draw lines to create squares in the following shape. So this one is an example of composite shapes. So they want us to draw lines. I guess I'm going to draw more than one line to create squares in the following shape. All right, so this shape is a rectangle. If I draw a line here, I created 2 squares. But it says line, so I'm going to draw more than one line. I think I'm going to draw a line here as well. And let's see if I created squares. Okay, no. Now I've created rectangles again. So I have to draw another line. I choose to draw my line here. Did I create squares, Congo Nation? Yes, I did. If I draw a line here, I also create squares. So how many squares did I create? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I created 8 squares by drawing 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. This is a composite rectangle made up of 8 smaller squares. Yay, Bo? All right, moving on to number 4. Number 4 says, draw one line to make this rectangle into 2 squares that are the same size. All right, so they want me to draw one line and create 2 squares that are the same size. Can I draw my line here, Congo Nation? No, because this is a rectangle and this is a rectangle. I didn't create squares. What about if I draw my line here? No, that didn't divide my rectangle into 2 squares. That made 2 triangles. What about if I tried through the center of this rectangle? Did I create 2 squares that are the same size, Congo Nation? Very good. Yes, I did. So I know that I want to draw my line down the center of that rectangle to make 2 squares that are the same size. Yay, Bo? All right, Congo Nation, let's move on to number 5. A for number 5 says, is this rectangle divided in half or quarters? So I have to ask myself, how many parts do I have when I split this rectangle in half? And how many parts should I have when I divide it into quarters? Half means that there are 2 equal parts. And I can make note of that. So half means 2 equal parts, and quarters means 4 equal parts. If half is 2 equal parts and quarters is 4 equal parts, then I know that this rectangle here is divided in half. There's 1, 2 equal parts. So I'm going to write half on this line. And then B says color 1/2. So this is 1/2. This is the second half. I'm going to color in one of the halves. Yay, Bo? All right, move on to number 6. A for number 6 says, is this square divided in half or quarters? Again, I can make note that half means 2 equal parts and quarters means 4 equal parts. How many equal parts does this square have? 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that this square is divided in quarters. All right, and B says color 1/4. So again, I can number these quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know to color just 1. 1/4. Yay, Bo? All right, very good, Congo Nation. Let's move on to number 7. For number 7, it says match the time to the correct clock. So let's take a look at the times that we have to choose from. A is 6 o'clock. B, 4:30. C, 8 o'clock. D, 9 o'clock. And E, 9:30. All right, so I'm going to look at my first clock here. I start off by looking at my hour hand. My hour hand is pointing to the 4. My longer minute hand is pointing to the 6. What does that mean, Congo Nation? When the minute hand is on the 6, what does that mean? Excuse me, Brother O'Shea is joining us for our math review. This means 30. So I know the time is 4:30. Let me find 4:30 over here. B says 4:30. So I'm going to draw a line from B to my first clock. Okay, Bo? All right, let me look at my next time. My next time, the hour is first and then the minutes. How do we read this time? 9:30. Very good. So now I have to go over here and find 9:30. 6 o'clock, 4:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. 9:30. 9:30 is E. So I'm going to draw a line from E to my digital clock that reads 9:30. All right, my next clock says 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. This 8 is the hour, and then these 2 zeros represents o'clock. So I read this time as 8 o'clock. 6 o'clock, 4:30, 8 o'clock. Let me draw a line from C to my digital clock that reads 8 o'clock. Yay, Bo? All right, now let's look at our last analog clock. I start off with my hour hand. Where's my hour hand pointing, Congo Nation? Very good. It's pointing at the 6. Where's my minute hand pointing? At the 12. When my minute hand is on the 12, I read that as o'clock. So my time is 6 o'clock, which is A. I'm going to draw a line from A to my analog clock that reads 6 o'clock. Yay, Bo? Number 8. Draw the minute hand so that the clock shows 7:30. All right, Congo Nation, our analog clock already has the hour hand. Now the time is 7:30. This 7 represents the hour, so is the hour hand pointing to the correct number? Yes, it is. Very good. It's pointing to the 7. Now I know that this side of my digital time represents the minutes. So if 30 minutes have passed since 7 o'clock, where do I have to put my minute hand? Good job. You guys said on the 6, but let's make sure. Let's skip count again by 5. So this is 0, 0. No minutes have passed. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Very good. This number 6 represents 30 minutes. Yay, Bo? All right, last problem, number 9. Here are the pieces Brother Jesse is putting together to create a shape. All right, so let me observe these pieces. Let me check them out. All right, I see a triangle here that's connected to another triangle. Together they make a parallelogram. And then I see one triangle here. Which of the following shows what Brother Jesse's shape might look like when he combines his smaller shapes? All right, so my first shape is a square, and it does have triangles. But what do you notice about the triangles inside of this square? How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this has 4 triangles. Did Brother Jesse have 4 triangles? No, he only has 1, 2, 3. So that means he can't make this shape because he would need 1 more triangle. So I know that's not the shape that Brother Jesse created. Let's take a look at this shape here. What is this shape called? A hexagon. Good. Let's count the amount of triangles inside of this hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know that that's too many. Brother Jesse didn't have 6 triangles. He had 3. So let me come over here and look at this shape. What is this shape called, Congo Nation? Very good. This is a trapezoid. This is a trapezoid. Let's see how many triangles are inside of this trapezoid. 1, 2, 3. Congo Nation, this might be the shape that Brother Jesse was able to create. But let's make sure. I look here and I also notice that these 2 triangles make the parallelogram that Brother Jesse has here. And what it looks like is that his 3rd triangle just turned upside down. So I'm going to circle this composite shape here. Using these 3 triangles, Brother Jesse was able to create this trapezoid. Before we continue, Congo Nation, I want to Sankofa rewind 2 of our clocks. This clock here that reads 4:30, I want to adjust this hour hand and make sure that it is between the 4 and the 5. Remember, when the minute hand is on 30, which is halfway around the clock, the hour hand has to be halfway between the hour and the next hour. Yay, Bo? All right, that is the same for number 8. Let's take a look at number 8. Number 8, our clock was supposed to read 7:30. So that means that this hour hand can come between the 7 and the 8. So we just had to move those hands over just a little bit. Yay, Bo? Yay, Bo. Scholars, remember the instructions in the assessment book are going to be a little different than the instructions for you today. Yay, Bo? And it's because you're doing it cyberly and you don't have this exact assessment in front of you. So make sure that you pay close attention to Sister Johnson's instructions. Yay, Bo? All right, Congo Nation. For numbers 1 through 6, you're going to write circles for number 1, rectangles for number 2, triangles for number 3, trapezoids for number 4, hexagons for number 5, and rhombuses for number 6. Once you're done writing that down for numbers 1 through 6, you're going to take a look at this picture and write how many of each shape you see. So how many circles are there? How many rectangles? How many triangles? How many trapezoids? How many hexagons? And how many rhombuses in this picture? Yay, Bo? All right, and remember, throughout this assessment, you will need to pause the video. So go ahead and pause this video to complete number 1 through 6. Congo, now that you're finished numbers 1 through 6, let's move on to our next 4. For numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10, you're going to answer the question, is the shape a triangle? So is number 7 a triangle? Is number 8 a triangle? Is number 9 a triangle? Is number 10 a triangle? If it is a triangle, you're going to write yes on the line. Yabo? If it is a triangle, write yes on the line. If it is not a triangle, you're going to explain why it is not a triangle on the line. For example, number 7. If you say that number 7 is not a triangle, you must write why it is not on the line. Yabo? All right, it's the same instructions for number 7, 8, 9, and 10. Is the shape a triangle? Yes or no? And if not, explain why. Congo, you may pause the video to complete numbers 7 through 10. And of course, your lines are the lines in your composition book. Congo Nation, for number 11, we're going to read the attributes and then you are going to write the attributes that are used to describe cylinders in your composition book. Yabo? All right, so let's look at the attributes. Cylinders can roll. Cylinders are hollow. Cylinders are made of paper. Cylinders have 2 flat surfaces made of circles or ovals. Please write the attributes that are true about cylinders next to number 11 in your composition book. Pause this video to do so. All right, scholars, welcome back. Let's do number 12. Number 12, you're going to look at attributes for rectangular prisms. And you're going to write the attributes that are true in your composition book. Rectangular prisms can roll. If that's true, you'll write it in your composition book. Rectangular prisms have 6 faces. The faces of a rectangular prism are rectangles. Rectangular prisms are made of wood. What attributes are true about rectangular prisms? Please write them down next to number 12 in your composition book. You may pause this video to do so. Keep up the good work, Congo Nation. Now let's move to number 13. Number 13 says, here are the pieces that Dana is putting together to create a shape. Which of the following shows what Dana's shape might look like when she combines her smaller shapes? So take a look at these 2 shapes. When she combines them, Congo Nation, will she create this shape, or this shape? We're going to call this shape A. This is shape B. This is shape C. Please write A, B, or C for number 13. Yabo? Congo Nation, do not worry about copying down the digital clocks just yet. Your next step is going to be to write down 14, 15, 16, and 17. So next to 14, I want you to write 10 o'clock. Next to 15, write 10:30. Next to 16, write 1 o'clock. Next to 17, write 3:30. Once you copy that down, then I want you to move over and draw these 4 digital clocks, just as they are pictured here. Yabo? So you can pause the video to do so. Then you're going to match the time to the correct clock. So start at number 14, which is 10 o'clock, and draw a line to the digital clock that also says 10 o'clock. You will do the same for 15, 16, and 17. Please pause the video now to complete numbers 14 through 17. Let's move on to number 18, 19, and 20. For 18, 19, and 20, you are going to write the time on each analog clock next to its number. Okay, so for number 18, write the time on this analog clock. For number 19, write the time on this analog clock. And for number 20, write the time for this analog clock. You may pause the video at any time. Number 21. You are going to take a look at these three clocks and write the letter for the clock that shows 5:30 o'clock. So if clock A shows 5:30 o'clock, you'll write A for number 21. If clock B shows 5:30 o'clock, you'll write B for number 21. And if clock C shows 5:30 o'clock, then you'll write C for number 21. Yay, Bo? You may pause the video to take a closer look at each clock. For numbers 22 and 23, they give you an analog clock that already has the hour hand. What I want you to do is to draw two analog clocks in your composition book, one for number 22 and one for number 23, and add the hour hand just as it is pictured here. Your job is going to be to draw the minute hand so that the clock shows the time written above each analog clock. So once you get finished drawing the clock for number 22, which includes the hour hand, you need to draw the minute hand to make the time 4:30. Yay, Bo? Once you're finished drawing the clock for number 23, which includes the hour hand, then you're going to draw the minute clock so that the clock reads 5 o'clock. All right, Congo Nation, let's move on to number 24. For number 24, please draw a rectangle and then draw one line to make the rectangle into two squares that are the same size. Draw one line to make your rectangle into two squares that are the same size. Once you're finished, you can complete number 25. So it says 1 square makes up 1/2 or 1/4 of the rectangle above. So when you make two squares inside of your rectangle for number 24, what does 1 square make up of that rectangle? Is it 1/2 or 1/4? You're going to write your answer for number 25. Number 26. Please draw the following rectangle. Once you're done drawing the rectangle, color 1/2 of the rectangle. The second part is to answer the question, what shapes were used to make the rectangle? So after you color 1/2 of your rectangle for number 26, then write down what shapes were used to make the rectangle. Number 27. Please draw this rectangle. And then color 1/4 of the rectangle. Once you're finished coloring 1/4 of the rectangle, answer the questions, what shapes were used to make this rectangle? And write it for number 27. Congo, we have reached the last question. For number 28, please draw this circle. The dot is in the center of the circle. Once you're finished drawing the circle, please shade 1/4 of the circle. Yabo. So once you draw the circle and place your dot in the center, you are going to draw and shade 1/4 of the circle. Congo Nation, once you're finished number 28, your end of module assessment is complete. Mighty mathematicians, well done on completing your end of module assessment. I know that you all did well. Now I would like for you to take a picture of your assessment and send it to our nation's email at grade1@sfacs.us. I will see you shortly for science, but don't forget, directly after science is our recess period. Our recess period will begin promptly at 12:30. The link has been sent to your Sankofa email, and I'll also send a link to your parents. I hope that we'll see you today at today's recess period. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in just a bit.